Today on Cocktail Minute, we're going to make 8 delicious whiskey cocktails. Let's start with one of my favorites, the Strawberry Basil Whiskey Smash. In a cocktail shaker, add 5 to 7 basil leaves. Then add 4 or 5 fresh strawberries. Next, let's add 3/4 of an ounce of 1-to-1 honey syrup. That's 1 part honey, 1 part water. Now let's muddle it. Traditionally, whiskey smashes are made by muddling lemons as well, but I find the drink to be a little too inconsistent when I do that, especially when the shaker is already so full. So we'll add the lemon juice next. Let's add 2 ounces of bourbon, and last 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. Add some ice, and let's give it a shake. Fill a lowball glass 3/4 full of crushed ice. I like to let some of the strawberry pulp come through into this drink, so I only single strain it. And that's a Strawberry Basil Whiskey Smash. I'm going to finish it off with a strawberry and a sprig of basil. Stick around to the end of the video, and I'll show you another variation of this recipe. Next, we have a hot whiskey drink that's perfect for a cold autumn night, a hot Apple Toddy. Let's start with a cinnamon stick in a heat-resistant glass mug. To the glass, let's add 2 ounces of bourbon, then an ounce of 1-to-1 honey syrup, let's use the cinnamon stick to stir that together. Next, add a slice of lemon to the glass. I'm going to squeeze out just a few drops of juice first. For a little extra spice, I'm going to add an anise star as well. Then let's add a cup of hot apple cider. I've been simmering mine with a cinnamon stick, so I'll use a strainer to catch that. And that's the hot Apple Toddy. The lemon, honey, and warm apple cider in this drink also make it a great choice if you're feeling a little under the weather. Next, we have a whiskey tiki cocktail. This is the Halekulani. Let's start with 1.5 ounces of strong bourbon. I'm using a 100 proof bourbon, but in the spirit of tiki, you might want to go even higher. Next, let's add 1/2 ounce of lemon juice, 1/2 ounce of orange juice, half an ounce of pineapple juice, then add 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. Add a bar spoon of grenadine. At last, let's add a few drops of aromatic bitters. Add some ice, and let's give it a shake. And that's the Halekulani. I'm going to finish it off with a few pineapple fronds. Next, we have the traditional drink of the Kentucky Derby, the mint julep. Start with 5 to 6 mint leaves. and give them a smack before adding them to the julep cup. If you don't have a julep cup, a lowball glass works too. Let's add half an ounce of simple syrup. Now let's muddle those two in the cup. Remember, we just want to release the oils, not completely shred the mint. Let's fill the cup with crushed ice. Now let's add 2.5 ounces of bourbon. Woodford Reserve is the official bourbon of the Kentucky Derby, so I'm using that. Next, let's give it a stir. You might want to use your hand to keep the ice in the cup. If you lost some of the ice like I did, fill it to the top once again. And that's a mint julep. I'm going to finish it off with a straw and a big sprig of mint. Next, we have the modern classic, the paper plane. If you have all 4 ingredients, this is a simple cocktail to make. It's just 3/4 ounce of each ingredient. Let's start with bourbon. Then let's add Aperol. Third, and the hardest ingredient to find, Amaro Nonino. And last, 3/4 ounce of lemon juice. Add some ice and shake for about 15 seconds. That's a paper plane. I'm going to finish it off with a lemon peel. Next, we have a classic whiskey cocktail, the Manhattan. Let's start by adding 2 ounces of rye whiskey to a mixing glass. Then add an ounce of sweet vermouth. And last, add 2 dashes of aromatic bitters. Fill the mixing glass with ice. Don't be afraid to add a lot of ice and stir for a long time. I'm going to speed it up, but I always stir for about 30 seconds. The flavor profile of this drink can vary greatly depending on the type of rye whiskey and the sweet vermouth you're using. I'm using Rittenhouse Rye and Carpano Attica sweet vermouth. If you're not sure what to use, that's a good place to start. Last, let's strain the cocktail into a glass. And that's a Manhattan. I'm going to finish it off by dropping a Luxardo cherry straight into the drink. Next, we have a layered whiskey cocktail, the New York Sour. Let's start with 2 ounces of a 90 proof bourbon. I'm using a slightly weaker whiskey for this one because we're going to add more alcohol later. Next, add 3/4 ounce of lemon juice. And 3/4 ounce of simple syrup. Let's add some ice and shake that for about 15 seconds. Double strain that into a glass with ice. I like to use a big ice cube for this cocktail because next we're going to take a dry red wine and gently float 1 ounce of it on top of the drink. The ice cube should help to keep the wine on top. And that's the New York Sour. I'm going to finish it off with a Luxardo cherry. And last, as promised, another take on the Whiskey Smash cocktail. This is the Blackberry Mint Whiskey Smash. For this, we're going to start with 5 or 6 blackberries, and then 4 to 5 mint leaves. Add 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. And now let's gently muddle it. Next, add 2 ounces of bourbon. And then add 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. Add some ice, and let's give it a shake. I'm going to double strain this one to keep out the blackberry seeds. And that's a blackberry mint whiskey smash. I'm going to finish it off with a few blackberries and a sprig of mint. For more quick and easy cocktail recipes, give us a like and subscribe today to Cocktail Minute.